All right, good evening, everyone. It is now 6:30. It's time to start the joint work session with the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's time to call to order. Bastrop City Council member. Who's calling the order for us?
You are.
Well, does that mean everyone? Okay, Councilmember Fossler. We're calling the order. Councilmember Lowe. Here. Councilmember Plunkett.
I'm here.
Councilmember Meyer.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem John
I don't
Kirkland.
have our list.
I'm here.
All right, all council members are here and accounted for.
You want me to call over for us?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have the full
It's just-
list. Okay, we'll start at the end. Heather Green.
Here.
Gary Moss.
Hello.
Christopher Toth.
Here.
David Barrow.
Present.
Jordan Scott here.
All right, thank you.
That was the first one you did.
That's the first one he called.
Yes.
All right, so just real quick, everyone. Earlier during the council meeting, we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and we were going to have two students, and it was Matilda Hernandez and Nick Castillo. There was a misunderstanding or on the time, so young Nick is here with his mother, and so what we're going to do is take the time to do the pledge again for the sake of Nick and allow him that privilege to do it for us. So, Nick, if you can come right up here, we'll stand up, and if you can lead us in the pledge, we'll be forever grateful. So the flag's over here for American and the Texas. So whenever you're ready, sir, on your go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, indivisible.
Thank you, Nick. Nick, if you can just hold up 1 second. Nick, we're going to take your picture. It's your mug shot for when you get in trouble later on in life. You're not going to get in trouble, though, right? You're going to be a great kid.
Innocent man.
Okay.
I'm innocent. Thank you, Nick. We appreciate it.
Wasn't me.
Yeah, wasn't me.
And thank you, Mom, for bringing him. All right. Now to what you all have been waiting for, our work session. Agenda item 12, work session, joint council and planning zoning meeting, development code rewrite, overview, policy direction, and workshop discussion. Ms. Brittany, are you ready? That's you now, but go ahead, Doc.
So I'm with James Kai Development Services. I'm just going to give you all a real quick overview of the staff that Brittany and Alondra and Nicole put together. The goal is to give you all a quick overview, then give you all a chance to go back and go into details of different sections. And so what we're doing tonight is a Bastrop Development Code rewrite. It's basically cleaning up stuff in the B3 code. You have in front of you a more detailed document called the Bastrop Development Code, more detailed summary, but we're going to hit the bullet points with this presentation. Why the update? We want to modernize and clarify standards so growth stays authentically Bastrop, physically, environmental, sustainable, and predictable for applicants and neighbors. What the B3 did well, it did capture historical patterns of downtown and set a character-driven foundation. What it didn't work on was day-to-day use. Permission wasn't always intuitive. We're simplifying for clarity and enforcement. What we're doing is a new approach, a hybrid code, keeping some of B3's farm character strength, add some Euclidean use tables, plus performance tools for flexible impact-based solutions, keeping what worked, B3 intent and outcomes, while translating them into clearer, more actionable standards for staff and developers, listening and responding, built from prior community input, and refined through ongoing feedback during workshops, and part was that the 2 years of the comprehensive land use plan that we went through. What's next is incorporate workshop feedback, refine the draft, and prepare the subdivision chapter for Chapter 10 adoption steps. So what we did, again, for the public, and again, we all remember we spent about 2 years coming up with a future land use plan, which is the foundation of future development, but cleaning up existing regulations. So this was what was adopted back in May of 2025. Again, that was after 2 years of input and work sessions, et cetera. So this is the driving force of cleaning up existing stuff and coming up with new regulations. So now that's changed from adoption. This is our current zoning map that we use to term place type, which is a place type map, and I believe everybody has hard copies if you need them in front of you. What we're proposing is these place types had some definitions of what we're allowed. What we're proposing is, this is kind of a reference chart. You have the B3 place type to zoning district crosswalk. So on the far left, you'll see the future land use map, which is recently adopted. The previous districts are your center column of P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, civic, employment, plan, development. What we're being proposed is convert them to a true district name of natural will become parks and open space. Rural would be rural residential. Single family, we have proposed 3 categories. F1 would be the existing 1/3 acre lots. F2 would be a future category that would have to be rezoned. The key goal, that would have to be rezoned property. And SF3 allowing for smaller lots. So basically trying to match what's existing, but allowing 2 more categories of smaller lots that would require a zoning change. Mixed use would still pretty well stay mixed use. Core would stay become general commercial. Civic is public institutional. Employment center becomes industrial. Plan development stays plan development. So going to more true typical Euclidean district types. So basically this is the conversion of, I'll go backwards. This map with those colors of place types to this map of zoning categories. So the footprints didn't change of these areas. The single family 1/3 acre didn't change, just adding those 2 categories. So that's the change. How the Bastrop Development Code is organized, what we did is try to create true, clean, different sections. A clear, predictable structure built for users is organized in logical articles that mirror how development projects move from concept to construction. Each article builds on the next, from zoning districts and overlays to landscaping, access, and administration. So you have the general provisions, you have the zoning district and uses, you have the overlay districts, you have development standards, you have landscaping requirements, you have tree preservation and mitigation requirements, you have signs, you have code enforcement and nonconformities, you have historical preservation ordinance, you have the P&Z Commission, you have the Zoning Board of Adjustment and administration procedures, and the goal is a user-friendly modular code, easy to navigate, enforce, and update. District-wise, we have an existing truly identified district of this downtown historical overlay. This boundaries would stay the same. We're storing the B3 farm-based codes, frontage lines, transparencies, trees. Doing B3 sunsets, the character defining standards continue in place, they fit best, and add most value. And again, that's an existing identified district. Another district which we proposed, I'm sure there'll be discussion about the footprint of. This is a District 1832 overlay district where we've met with Historical Society and with Main Street, and we've got a joint meeting with them. It's trying to identify an overlay district that you want to have some more defined standards within that district. And the goal is that it's protect and enhance Bastrop's historical core as a walkable mixed-use district, supporting small businesses, upper story housing and civic life while preserving authentic downtown character. What makes it special is fine-grained blocks, human-scale buildings, active storefronts, generous sidewalks, trees, and adaptive reuse of historic structures, build-to zones for pedestrian-centered atmosphere, height and massing, controls parking management behind under buildings, screen lots, shared managed supply, have some street safe standards for trees, lighting, signs, et cetera. Materials, details, designs got adopted by Main Street Advisory Board. And again, we met with them once and plan on meeting with them again. Outcome, predictable, character-driven infill that keeps District 1832 vibrant, walkable, and unmistakable Bastrop. Again, as we circle back, there'll be discussion of really what does that footprint need to be. So again, one thing we'll have future discussion about is the flood hazard area. Do we want to identify areas in the floodplain that we don't want to prohibit development, have special requirements for development? Parking, we're looking at identifying right now, we only have parking spaces of one parking space per bedroom for nothing else. Again, this is keeping that requirement and coming up with parking spaces for other areas within the city based on use, similar to what other cities have. Creating a true landscaping ordinance. We have a tree ordinance, but we don't really have a true landscaping ordinance. Again, for future discussion, is what we're proposing is laying out landscaper for commercial sites and some basic requirements for residential. This is an example of where we had a tree mitigation project with really no good landscaping plans. This is Blakey Apartments where you see how close the trees are planted along the curb. And again, the goal is to get trees up on private property and true landscaping plans, working with our true arborists in the park department. The highlights of the park, the landscaping is 20% for townhouses, 25% multifamily, commercial 20%. So just based on the overall site, you got impervious cover and non-impervious cover, but within that, instead of just having impervious areas, have some landscaping standards. Setting your frontage, kind of second your parking lots, again, trying to beautify through landscaping islands, buffers. Again, there's some examples. Again, the goal is to try to get a good streetscape as you drive down our streets, and again, that being up on the private realm where the homeowner maintains that tree in their front yard or the shopping center. I mean, I use a good example of one is the art center across the street. We have a little bit of buffer, you have a little bit of landscaping, a little bit of trees, but it's all up on their private property. Coming up with, again, a lot of this stuff is just adopting what we had and clarifying up. You know, we went through a tree ordinance pretty well. It's just cleaning up the language in it. One thing we're talking about on some of these larger sites is at the PDD process, zoning process, and when you have a 4-acre site, it's kind of hard to do a true tree survey on real dense areas. Knowing as they come in and develop that property, they'll have to do a true tree survey for site plan. But for a PDD, just identify at least the bigger trees through a drone, and again, knowing that eventually we'll have to do a full tree survey. Sign ordinance, reworked it. Again, we met with the Main Street on trying to identify some needs for signage. We reworked it, cleaned some stuff up, but again, try to consolidate it in one section. Again, basic code enforcement stuff where we can enforce nonconformities, work with existing stuff, enforce on new stuff. Historical preservation ordinance, we carried it forward with minor amendments, including some land use historical standards. Looking at our authentic Bastrop pattern book for the overlay district we talked about. And then part of the deal is we had concept plans that straight zoning cases, we're proposing not to have that, but just for PDDs. It's okay.
And what was in your packet is in the B3 code, there's a conceptual plan that was required. We carried that over as it related to rezoning because it is awfully nice to see what's going to happen on a piece of property. However, our legal team informed us that that's probably not legal to do. So you see this strikeout here.
What about traffic impact studies for rezoning?
That's a council discretion item, depending on load, I believe.
Yeah, we do have a chapter in the access and connectivity article, which has specific thresholds to require a traffic impact study, and this new code does not include subdivision standards, so that's going to come later. But as far as site plans and PDDs, we would have a specific standard of when to require them.
Is there an out for council to require them even when it's not listed in the code?
I believe so. Let me look at it.
Yeah, there was a rezoning that came to us, and one of the major concerns was traffic. And it was as in, I don't even want to vote for rezoning this without knowing what the traffic impact is going to be. And so at that time, I had found some ordinances from another city here in Texas in terms of how they handled their traffic impact studies. I brought those to Sylvia at the time. And there were certain conditions under which a rezoning could trigger a traffic impact study requirement. And I think I'd like to see us codify something like that.
I will say that since you all have received your packets of the first draft, I got recommendations back from one of our consultants with the Goodman Corp, who does our traffic impacts. He's our traffic person.
Good.
So I still need to incorporate his recommendations,
Okay.
and we can talk about that further, maybe in the next workshop too.
Great, thank you.
And again, discussion on administration, procedures, conditional use permits, clarifying those. Redevelopment, we have an existing piece of property, what defines when the rules kick in based on redeveloping an existing site that may burn, or et cetera. Working with, again, trying to work with existing property owners. When you expand a building, based on a certain percentage, you have to at least try to meet the intent of the code on your landscaping, et cetera. Again, administration relief is trying to work with, you have these unique lots and existing stuff, you're trying to really develop specific for that, up to 10% adjustment for numeric standards, not for lot, for impervious cover. So if there's a particular lot, you still have to meet the lot coverage for that district, but you may need to modify your setback from 10 feet to 8 feet. You'll still have to meet the building codes and fire codes, but it gives the staff a little bit of flexibility for specifically more like setbacks. But you still would have to meet your lot coverage. Pre-zoning for annexation clarifies that. Neighborhood meeting when required by council on some of the previous cases we've done. Early outreach for, bigger projects there may be concerns on, as you touched on. And then I guess once we start over again is closing steps. We need your direction, input and discussion, policy direction, priorities, public engagement. We'll incorporate tonight's direction, return with a revised draft. We'll have a joint HLC in Main Street on December 3rd. And based on tonight how things go, I'll propose a second joint work session on Tuesday, December 16th, trying to meet a February adoption date, which will be a mass notice to everybody in the city. Basically, open through the comp plan, so public city notice.
So, Council and Planning Commission, what you have before you is the culmination of several, at least several years worth of work, worth of input, worth of what's working, what's not working, what needs to be tweaked, what is just absolutely not acceptable. We heard a lot from Main Street. We've heard a lot about historic. We've heard a lot from parks. And so we tried to capture most of that. And I'm going to let Brittany speak because she did the summary and some of the substantive work. Carrie, there's your word. in the document. But I think what's important to focus on is, number one, the maps. Did we capture the boundaries? And I know from some of the inputs, no, we didn't capture quite the boundaries. Two, we made every attempt to keep the Bastrop core. That is the larger lot sizes, that's addressing drainage and parking and all the things that everybody who came to Planning Commission said wasn't working. But then we also took it a step further and we said, okay, let's not just make sure we're protecting lot size, let's make sure we're protecting uses also, because there are some uses in a form-based code that they don't align with a neighborhood residential. And then we took it a step further for our friends who talk about affordable housing, et cetera, et cetera. In the single-family district, we left smaller lots by right. You can go through a simple, quote-unquote, rezoning process, but there is a category that you can actually jump into. And if 5,000 square feet is still too big for you and you want to subdivide further, the PDD process is there also. So we took into account the tree ordinance, we took into account landscaping, we took into account these barren areas of parking that don't have any shade, don't have any trees. We took into account where the trees are. They shouldn't be in the roadway that pushes the responsibility to the city to maintain trees that belong to a developer that he got credit for, that then ruin the streets, ruin the sidewalk, et cetera. I still want beautification. We still need shaded areas. We still need shaded areas, especially in parking lots, to keep the heat down. But there's a lot of credit within the code. We tried to go through almost every single meeting that we went through and listened and put these notes into actual action. So I really want to thank the staff for the yeoman's work that they did, going through every single item and listening and putting it in a format that is this easy to understand. This is fairly simple, and we're going back to what I'm going to say normalcy. We're going back to what the rest of the world talks about as it relates to zoning. We're going back to what the rest of the world relates to as it pertains to a glossary of terms. I think the one word that's still in here that's bad is warrant, but we know we need to change that to variance. But so I want to congratulate the staff on all of the hard work that got us to this point. Is it perfect? No, you're probably still going to find some tweaks that you want to do, but that's what we're here for this meeting and the next meeting, and hopefully by 2026, we won't be talking, this won't be a topic anymore. We'll have moved on to bigger and better things, and the public can yell at me for something different.
All right. Do you have any discussion?
Yeah. If I may make a recommendation on how we should proceed forward, just so we can cover everything. We have a
Okay.
packet
well,
of 100
real quick,
pages.
before we do a recommendation, we do have someone who did sign up to speak, so we'll let them
Oh,
speak real
absolutely.
quick.
Sure.
Amy Mills. Hello again. Just
Hello
like
again.
earlier, if you can just state your name, address, and we'll give you 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Mills, and I just wanted to be here to share a little bit of information with y'all about some of the work we've been doing. I'm here representing Bastrop County, so I work for Bastrop County Public Health Department, and for the last year, we've been coordinating a project called the Bastrop County Collaborative for Housing and Health. So for the last year, with a grant from the St. David's Foundation, we have been working in the community to gather community input about housing and health and the intersection of those things. And the existence of Bastrop County Collaborative for Housing and Health is meant to engage the community in coming up with strategies and policies that would encourage the development of more attainable and affordable housing for people at every stage in life in Bastrop. And so when we saw this come up today, we just wanted to let everybody know that we're here and that that work has been going on, and that we're very, very close to completing the first year of work. And one of the deliverables that our collaborative has been working on is a recommendation and research paper about policies that can promote or hinder the development of affordable and attainable housing. So they are working really hard to wrap that up, and we just wanted to share that that was information that was going to be made available really soon, and we wanted to just say that it's there, and we would love to share that information with staff. Of course, Bastrop, City of Bastrop and City of Elgin and Smithville have been a part of this collaborative, as well as 13 nonprofit organizations, so it's already known to a lot of folks, but we just wanted to make it more widely known that very soon we'll have that, as well as a couple of other really exciting deliverables, like some plans that might get developed one day that are really, really beautiful. So just wanted to share that information with everybody again, so thanks for my time. I'll give you back an extra minute.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes.
All right, planning and zoning commissioners, council members.
Yeah, so we have a lot to go through tonight. My suggestion was let's take a look at the maps, because that would probably be the lowest hanging fruit, easy to look at, make any adjustments, and then take the code that we have one section at a time and then just address key points that we've had. And any recommendations on any tweaks or changes we want to see so far in the development code. Do we expect to get through the entire code tonight, or ideally what would be the goal?
So I think hopefully you've all read it. You all have some concerns. We'd like to address those concerns tonight. And I know that that's going to breed another round of
Okay.
conversation, and that's the December 16th meeting. I'm going to hand Brittany the podium here, because what's behind this overview that Doc gave is a 70-plus slide that goes through some of that deep
Got
dive
it.
within the code.
Okay.
So I'm sure if you have a question, she has a slide for it.
Okay, awesome.
Yep, that's what she just told me. That's what I was asking her, so,
Okay.
all right.
And I do know some of you, Councilmember Meyer, for example, had questions on the map. So that's my recommendation also, that we start with the map. Like, did we even get the boundaries right?
Yeah.
Because then everything feeds from that.
Absolutely.
Yes, please. Colin, if you'll bring up the long one. You can take this up there if you need to.
Start with map numero uno, which would be.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
This is the old map. New map. Yep. Old map, the B3 map. Okay. And then this is the new map.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Do we want to start with the overlay maps, or do you guys want to start with the overall zoning map? What is,
Zoning districts and overlays.
okay.
Is that a good place?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You gotta start with the basics.
So I have on the screen all of our new zoning types. I'm here to answer any questions that you have, so.
Shoot, not literally, but figuratively.
Fire away.
I don't have a question on the categories, because and I love the language because it makes sense. I just have, my primary question to begin with is on the overlay map itself.
The 1832 overlay?
The 1832 and then the commercial also, both of those.
The historic, the
Yes,
zoning district?
Yes.
Let's start with the zoning district overlay, because I went to Michaela. The question was, why does it end at spring, and why doesn't it include the post office and the lumber yard, et cetera, et cetera? And is Michaela here? Yes. Sorry.
Bless you, bless you.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, let me forward to that one.
Go to the map.
So this, the downtown historic overlay, this is our like pre-established national registry. So this is what's been registered like as our national historic district. So this is something that we can update and change, but we have to go through kind of an evaluation, and we determine what those boundaries are, but that's done at a national historic level. So this is, like I said, something we can change and update, but that's just something that we currently have set in stone for our downtown Bastrop.
And the post office has never been in that, not been in that?
Correct, correct. When this was done, I think in '07 or? That national historic district was done in 1978. 78, there we go. Yes. So at that point in time, they go back X amount of years, and any buildings that fit within those years, they get marked in the district. So at the time of 1978, the post office building was not considered historic.
But it could be now.
But it can be now, yes, because it goes back, I think, 20 years, so any buildings that were built within, like, the last, before 20 years ago. I don't know how to word that correctly.
2021, before 2021.
Yeah, back
2005.
in the 19 anything is considered probably historic.
So Councilmember Meyer, is that is your recommendation to extend the boundary?
Yes, that is.
And if so, how far?
So instead of go all the way up to Farm Street, but even going east, the Found Fine Art is not in there, and you could go a little more east also in that area. So more north a block to Farm, and then over Water Street. Is that Water Street? Yeah, Water Street.
And I do believe this, like, we will have to go through an actual, like, for the national, at least, section of it, we'll have to go through and, like, reassess those properties
Right.
to add them to that district.
Perfect. That'd be great. If we can just make note that that could be potential to do. Thank you.
Does that require any kind of an election or approval or?
I don't believe so, no. Yeah, I think they just come in and assess the buildings, and we have to compile information about when the building was built and et cetera, architecturally and things like that, and then they place them in the registry.
And it will require those properties to go through the certificate of appropriateness process.
Which is why I'm asking.
Locally, yes.
Yeah, the local COA process.
No, I get that. So if a municipality went and did that to, 10,000 homes without asking them, I would have a serious problem with that. We're not proposing 10,000, but really, you don't even have to talk to them first?
So there's a zoning, Charlie, it's a district, it's a zoning district, and so through a zoning process. So yes, there's notification, yes, there's newspaper, yes, there's a public hearing, but no election, no.
So to apply the overlay district, it really just requires majority council vote.
Okay, well, count me as a no every time it comes up.
So let me explain why I'm concerned about this, because the only way we can regulate legally at TML, and it was reiterated to us, is with overlay districts. So if you don't want to have smoke shops on every block, down all the way up and down Main Street, your overlay is the way to do that. So that's why my concern is especially in that area. I'm not talking about houses, and I'm doing the commercial on that. So
Regulating
that's
uses.
Yes.
And Brittany could probably talk a little bit to this. This was definitely something the Main Street Board discussed pretty heavily on, and there are a lot of those uses in place for the district as a whole. What this, like the specific historic core is really pinpointing is more of like the design guidelines, colors, architectural updates. That's really what this main section is for, but as it relates to the whole district, we put in implements that have specific uses for the downtown district, 1832.
And so that's her point, though. She wants to expand the district to protect from those unfavorable uses.
Which is all of 1832 currently. Like 1832 currently includes that specific, like those uses that you're talking about.
Go all the way up to Farm, right?
It does.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we,
Go
I
to
think we
eight-
have a
the other map.
terminology
Now you're on the
issue
other
here.
map. You're on the blue map now? So the blue one ends at Cedar Street, correct? That we're talking about now?
Yes.
So, and can you just explain to me the boundaries of why the lines are there? And not all the way up to Mesquite Street?
Yes, okay, so why we established that as the 1832, and I might actually call up Jennifer as well, Jennifer Long, she helped with that and has been a part of this process. But we talked about going up and into the residential and really like streamlining where all the historic homes are and really getting majority of that brunt. So we have expanded, these are essentially kind of the Main Street boundaries, downtown district. So that was kind of where we cut it off at that line. I mean, this is flexible on the northern boundary. I mean, any of the blue is really flexible. As of right now, the historic one that's within District 1832 is a little bit more specific because it relates to the historic significance of those buildings. So everything in 1832 encompasses the historic district.
Okay, and I get that. I'm just thinking past, more north of Cedar Street, we've got some quite a bit of historical homes down that way too. So that's why I thought maybe going farther north on that map, on the blue map.
To the original that we had drawn
That's
as the
right,
development
yes.
rodeo,
That we-
which is
yes.
all the way to,
Is it
bounded
Mesquite?
by Mesquite, yeah, bounded by 95. Carrie, do
Right.
you want to, it's the one that you and Judy Hoover worked on.
The one that Judy Hoover and Donald Barrow and I worked on was actually a modification to the Iredell, and we had it ending at Hawthorne, so 95. So we didn't have it all, like Iredell went all the way north to Mesquite, and the proposed one that we had proposed, was more the historic, ended at
So from Hawthorne to,
95 on the right, River on the west, and mainly the highway on the bottom. And then we talked about the church, Premier Baptist, maybe bringing that in, but then we simplified it when we, I don't know if it went anywhere, but that,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was the, that was the. three
so
that-
Councilmember Meyer, is the, I guess if we're trying to accomplish the uses, can you go back to the existing zoning map? Because those are going to be mostly single-family residential, single-family 1, 2, 3. So you won't see a smoke shop in that. And remember, we're getting away from form, so the smoke shop couldn't look like a regular house. Can you zoom in to what that is? So I'm gonna go point at the map and try to. This is Hawthorne, right? Yes. So most in there is single family, and PI is
Institutional public.
so, and that's the school, right?
Mhm.
And then you have multi, and then most of that is single family. So you wouldn't be able to have a smoke shop in those areas anymore because it's zoned as a single family. But in the area that they've kind of identified, there's a lot of commercial in there, as well as a mixture of housing. We can certainly move it to there, but I don't know what the likelihood of a single-family home on Main and any cross street up there would get rezoned to general commercial. But stranger things have happened.
I would just having that end at Cedar just seemed pretty short to me, since there were more historical things. And I don't like things stopping at the tracks. I think that irks the really bad stuff when things stop at the tracks, and we
Yeah.
don't consider the north end. So I don't like those barriers. So just, my concern is just protecting, honestly, what's there, and making sure that things don't come in, that this is our opportunity to make sure that people are protected, and that's basically it.
Yeah, but even beyond that, another protection that 1832 provides is not allowing the upzoning to SF2 or 3. So if you guys go and take a look at the code book, our single family is split into 3 different categories, SF1, 2, and 3. 2 and 3 are designated higher density single family zoning. So with that area being flood prone, I think protecting it from possibly being rezoned to an SF2 or SF3 might be something to consider, because if it does get encapsulated in that 1832 zoning, then it'll stay the third of acre minimum going forward.
So are we proposing the original boundary all the way to Mesquite?
That's what I'm suggesting, yes. Hawthorne is way too soon, way too short.
Yeah, and I mean, that area of Bastrop is as historic to people that are alive today as any other part of Bastrop.
You're absolutely right on that. And it just looking at it, it stops at Hawthorne. It just gives a long-standing history of stopping at the north side of the tracks.
Yeah. And we forget it's 2025, 50 years ago in 2000 was 1950, 50 years ago today was 1975, so.
I resemble that remark.
Hey, yeah, you give us some strong reminders
guys.
here, sir.
Historic is as kindly as I can put it, okay? Some of you guys may be a little bit more historic than others, all right?
So, Councilperson Meyer, the difference between the 1832 overlay and the prior one that I said I was opposed to growing is because the prior one is attached to a requirement that if you make any visual change to the exterior of your home, you have to get approval from the Historic Landmark Commission through a certificate of appropriateness. And I almost said a certificate of occupancy, but I was like, no, that's not right. The COA. And And that I see as an infringement upon people's rights, and expanding that is a big deal. I'm not opposed to having it where we have it in downtown, where you're protecting the look and feel of our historic downtown. But if you expand it on a map, then that means homes that weren't built, that happen to be inside that geography, that was built in 1997, they still have this rule placed upon them where they have to go get approval from the Historic Landmark Commission to, you know, paint something or fix something or change something in their front yard. It just, that's the thing I'm trying to avoid.
Sure.
And it doesn't give you any of the protections that you were mentioning, but that 1832 does.
Yeah, and I get
And the
that.
zoning, like the SF, single-family zoning, and then restricting uses,
Right.
Yeah.
that gives you the protection that you
Right.
were looking for.
So here's what my problem is with the blue, ending at Cedar. The term District 1832 Downtown Core. I can tell you the north end is the downtown core. That should be in with the downtown core because that is what the downtown is. It has been, should have been, forever considered that. So I really have a problem ending on Cedar. I super have a problem ending at the railroad tracks. And the downtown area has always been considered, I've lived here 65 years. The north end is included in that, so is the south end. So that's what my problem is these definitions of where these lines end. We need to be inclusive on this map.
I think on that, when we were having discussions, I mean, as we're talking about the South End District and things like that, the South End District wasn't currently in our Main Street boundaries, but that was something we talked about wanting to make sure we're including and incorporating as we develop these areas. So I absolutely agree extending to the north end. So we can take on that. And then as it relates to the historic specific, the yellow or gold one over there, while it's going to take a little bit of internal adjusting and bringing in some other key players to it, I absolutely agree, but keeping that maybe limited to the commercial core, so that way we're not infringing on our residents.
I like that.
I have a question. I would want, if we're going to have additional restrictions passed on us, I would want the north end to be notified of that, because I think that would be a big surprise of what, a big cange from current operation.
There are notification requirements.
I can't, we need to speak on the mic.
Sorry. Yes, there are going to be notification requirements. We're going to be notifying everybody, not only within the overlay, the whole city pretty much, but especially the overlays. They will be notified that this overlay is being considered to be applied to them.
Would there be an opt-out like the ETJ? Hard no?
I was going to say, I don't believe so. But on that note, when we were kind of analyzing this and talking about the residential in that north area, this historic District 1832 was more so to not put restrictions on the current residents, but to make sure that we limit someone buying a historic home and then turning it into a commercial building. So there is a difference, and there's some, I don't know the proper word, this isn't my super niche department, to not, like certificate, the certificate of appropriateness, yes. So it wouldn't be necessary to put limitations or restrictions on you guys that are currently there, but more so to prevent change of things in the future. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but.
Yeah, because it looks like this district really only limits how your use, lot size, and I mean, it doesn't really see anything about like how it looks, like the buildings or what type of paint or the appropriateness certificate. That's all done if you register your building with the historical commission, correct? But we're not going to require people to register their homes even if they're in the historical district, are we?
No.
The historic
So-
district, though, not the 1832 district, but
Yeah,
the
so
other
the-
Oh,
district.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Hold
the
on, hold
18
on. If you're inside the boundaries of that historic district, then you are fully subject to the HLC rules.
Yeah, the
regardless
Main
of-
Street.
Regardless of whether or not
Yes.
your building is registered. or
Okay,
not.
so the 1832 district is not
Is
as
different.
extreme.
Right. is
No,
different.
so the
Yeah.
difference between the two, if you're in that downtown historic commercial district, you have to go through the certificate of appropriateness. You're subject to the historic preservation ordinance, but in 1832 district, you're not subject to the historic preservation ordinance. However, if Main Street Advisory Board adopts their own design guidelines, which I don't believe at this point they're considering to adopt design guidelines for residential, maybe for commercial, they would have to get a certificate of design compliance
Got
through
it.
Main Street.
And that's Councilmember Kirkland's issue, because that takes us back to the design book, that takes us back to architectural standards needing a fence that's 3 feet and picket and see-through and all
Yep.
of that. Charlie, it's a legal question. Can we designate structures within 1832 that need a certificate of appropriateness and everything else is fine? Within the bigger blue district, what is being called Bastrop proper or Bastrop core?
Let me add some context to that question, though.
Yep.
So we already have many homes inside the larger blue area that have registered to themselves with the city or state as a registered historic structure. And our zoning rules currently, and presumably in the new one as well, require those homes, in addition to the ones inside the traditional historic designation boundary. Both of those are subject to the certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Landmark Commission. So then the answer to Sylvia's question, as a yes/no question, is yes. Other homes in there are subject if they've registered their homes. So is your question, if they haven't registered their homes, could they be subject, or?
No, what I'm trying to do is split the baby and so that we're all saying the same thing. The boundary can be extended, but that does not require everybody within the boundary to get a certificate of appropriateness.
And right, and it's my understanding that was not the goal of
Yeah,
tapping.
the only ones that are required a COA are the historic.
Are the ones that have chosen to put their
Yes.
own name on that list to require
Was
that.
that the intent?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so
So
we
then
we got that one?
there should be no issue to extend the boundary to Mesquite.
Right.
So what would the other impacts be if there are no additional restrictions?
Uses, lot size.
Uses, lot size? Okay.
And
Which are similar to what we approved.
And the point that Jordan made, especially with lot size, that's a flood area down on north end. And Ms. Green, you live down there, you know that. So even more so, it needs to extend to Mesquite because of that.
Yeah. Do we have any objections to extending to Mesquite? Any comments, concerns for either map? Okay.
All right, so sounds like that's what,
Well, we will take that recommendation and bring it in.
all right. Okay, so we have that out of the way. Is there anything else in particular, or would you just like Brittany to go through?
Yeah, let's go and pay special attention to the flood hazard area.
She just went right to it. There it is.
This one for me is it's a pretty important map. We have solely been relying on FEMA and other readily available information. This puts a little bit more substance to the code. Let's see. We don't have a
We don't
flood
have
map.
it here. We'll have to catch the slide.
It's right here.
This one here? Yes. Oh.
This
I was staring right at it, too.
It looks like a river.
It looks like a river.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, can we put a dam on that river?
I'm drowning in maps.
let's see right there, so.
So this one was important for us to clearly delineate and be able to put an overlay to restrict some things, especially along the Gills Branch, especially in susceptible flood-prone areas. It would be officially mapped. Developers, anybody who wants to buy within that property area knows what's there. They know they have a different set of rules to abide by, and more stringent rules, really, that would help us maintain or acquire our community rating system from FEMA, which is a discount on flood insurance, which we are not a CRS community at this point in time. We're aiming to be, but we are not at this point in time.
So I think the biggest impact of this one is going to come into play with subdivisions. We kind of want to move towards floodplain as being considered a non-buildable lot and avoid people subdividing and relying solely on pad fill to create buildable lots, which is sort of like the county does now. So we would require that for any new subdivisions, that area of floodplain is dedicated as open space, or a drainage easement or a conservation easement is applied over top of it. And then we would allow, in turn for that, we would allow cluster or density bonuses so that developer can get the same amount of lots out of their property. And then as far as existing lots within the floodplain, we're not going to take away your ability to develop your property. There would just be more specific restrictions on it as far as compensating for filling the floodplain, so additional drainage storage, and not filling the whole lot in its entirety, but just the building footprint itself. Let's see.
What's our requirement in terms of number of feet above the flood, a 100-year floodplain, or how do we articulate that?
I believe it's 2 feet.
2 feet above what?
BFE, base flood elevation.
And the base flood elevation is determined by what?
The FEMA published maps,
Okay.
or best available information, in which case you're going to get a ruler, and we're going to talk about transects.
About what?
Transects.
Okay. That's what I thought you said.
Could you go more into the credits thing that you were talking about, where
That's
builders
new.
can get credits for, I guess, not building in the floodplain, I guess?
Yes, so here's an example of it right here, of a traditional subdivision where, say you have, you can build 10 lots per acre. But then say you have floodplain on your lot and you're required to preserve the floodplain, we would allow you to still build your 10 lots on that 1 acre, but it'd be in a smaller footprint while you preserve the rest of it. So it allows you to get a smaller lot size than the underlying zoning district would originally allow, as little as 5,000 square feet.
Okay, that makes sense. So you take the development as a whole, and,
So a scenario would be Pecan Park, where we have erosion. What they did to get 8,000 square foot lots, they cut the river bottom, padded lots to get them out of the floodplain.
right,
So instead of doing, I got it.
yeah.
Coming in closer.
Okay. So Pecan Park is existing, we have the erosion, is they got more lots by filling the lots and raising them. We're saying we're gonna still let you get 100 lots, but instead of filling the floodplain, we're gonna let you do smaller lots outside of the floodplain.
Got it.
But we also
Keep
got to make
floodplains
sure we don't
floodplain.
have that problem that they had in Pecan Park too.
Right. And it's one of the reasons, Pecan Park is one of the reasons for this.
Exactly, because had this ordinance been in existence at Pecan Park, you may have ended up with the same number of lots. They would have been smaller, but we would have had a larger conservation and open space area so that water's not rushing to find its way down to the river through a massive cut that they did at River Bottom.
I'm struggling with this thing, not conceptually, but more in practice, because if a development that looks like this is going to come in, they're going to come in with a planned development district, probably. And I'm not yet sure how we're going to divide up the SF2 and 3. I know that we're keeping the downtown area that's already developed, that has existing infrastructure at the 1/3 of an acre lots, but if you're going to outer part of the city where 5,000 square feet is allowed, and then this says you can reduce it, but you can't go below 5,000, it seems to not help. It's like conceptually I get it, but practically it seems like, are you sure anyone can actually use this?
Well, I'm looking at Jimmy Crouch, who is in the development business. If he's wanting to understand whether or not to buy a piece of property and it's delineated on this map, he's going to know pretty much right off the bat, I'm going to be able to do this, and I'm going to need to address this and this. For me, it will cut down a lot on the speculative purchases that happen. We have so many people who buy pieces of property here and they think they can develop it until they come in and we're the bad guys and say, sorry, you can't do it.
Well, no, I get that we need to limit development in the flood areas. And I conceptually get that we would allow them to build smaller lots in order to keep the number of lots the same. I'm just saying, on a practical sense, that if the minimum lot size is still going to be 5,000 square feet, they probably would have had that anyway, so it doesn't buy
So
them anything.
You have to think about if they are not already zoned
Yes.
RF3, maybe they're zoned RF1, they wouldn't have to go through the rezoning process or a PDD to get the same result.
Okay.
So,
So lots smaller than we spelled, what's the two lot sizes that we're proposing, the smaller ones?
5 and 8 or something?
7,500 and 5,000.
Okay.
But there's still PDDs that will let you go less than that. So that's a PDD tool where based on these scenarios, you can do a 3,000 square foot lot or 2,000 square foot lot.
So, yeah, I think in a practical sense, if something comes in looking like this, it's probably going to come in as a PDD anyway, right? Which then means everything is up for negotiation. And then using this concept to, I guess what I'd like to see, and I think we may very well have this, is to protect that open space in flood areas, right?
Yeah.
And so that when people are looking at it, that it is definitive, like, no, you can't build there. But then telling the developer that, you know, like it's saying, you know, we'll give you credits to be able to build smaller lots in those areas. But if it's going to be a PDD, I still wouldn't want to let them build in the floodway, even if it's a PDD, I guess is
Yes,
what it
and
comes
so
down to.
this would essentially give the opportunity to not go through the PDD process, which can be a lot, since the density bonus would be a by right in this district if they did have floodplain on their property.
So that would help if it's the SF3. Sorry, if it was the SF3, it wouldn't help. It would
And-
help if it was 2
yeah.
or 1.
And remember that every P3 neighborhood lot is going to be automatically zoned to SF1.
Uh-huh.
So if somebody doesn't want to have to go through the rezoning process or a PDD, this would be an easier route.
So, no, the special flood hazard area is not just oh, they're going to do this and they're going to be able to get away from it. They still have to meet the base flood elevations, there's still elevation certificates required. There's a lot more, and in the floodway, not allowed. Floodplain, barely allowed, and with super special restrictions.
Right.
Yeah, so this is more like the land use category that accompanies our regular floodplain ordinance that addresses the building regulations for building in the floodplain. So this kind of strengthens it in that way.
So it strengthens our existing floodplain ordinance? Is that what
Yeah,
you
so
said?
it's two separate, think building code and zoning code. So we have the building portion, that's our floodplain ordinance, which addresses how to build in the floodplain when you're building something. This more addresses the land use portion.
The land use, okay, so we have a good portion of downtown that's in the 500-year floodplain, but that wouldn't change those properties, right? Because, I mean, insurance doesn't, you don't need
And
property insurance for 500 years, so 500 years still
No.
untouched by this.
this is
change.
only 100 year.
Oh, only 100
Yeah.
year, okay. Okay, cool, thanks.
Did I miss where we got this map from?
This
Like-
is the regulatory FEMA firm mapped floodplain, zones A and AE. So that's where we go.
Okay, we beat that one. Any other questions on that one?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I would suggest that the city err on the side of being very strict about the floodplain. There are cities who have had developers find loopholes in building along floodplains and displaced tons of people and nature. And it's one of our neighbors, Austin, is one of the ruthless examples of that. So I would definitely suggest erring on the side of being very strict in regards to this one.
And then they end up in a buyout.
Yep.
And the sad thing about that is FEMA usually helps with the buyout because of repetitive loss areas. So you and I and the U.S. American taxpayer are paying for bad planning.
Sylvia, on this, on that note, at Pecan Park, on the bluff, is this going to help, because those people, those 30 people on the bluff are, you know, going to fall off the bluff with their houses one day. So is this going to prevent any developments like that from making that mistake?
I wish I could tell you yes, it would, but let me tell you why I don't believe it would. Because FEMA has a process called a LOMA or a LOMAR, which is a letter of map amendment or a letter of map revision. And so FEMA prints out their maps, they go through this 10-year process, the map is the map, but then when the developer says, oh, I can pull fill, I can bring in fill, and I can amend how high that is, and in essence, they apply to FEMA for a letter of map amendments. FEMA looks at their hydrology, looks at their engineering. FEMA agrees whether or not it is or isn't out of the LOMAR. What we are intending to do is put more bumpers on that, saying, okay, you might have taken it out and you might have amended the map, but we still have requirements that you stay 100 foot from that boundary line. You stay 50 feet from the boundary line. That's what the special flood hazard, special overlay is putting in.
Doing that, restricting the no pad fill, that's a big deal, right? And we haven't been able to do that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a,
And what Sylvia touched on, we have that on the Gills branch already. We have a 100-foot buffer from the center line to the Gills branch. We're just identifying more of the city.
I also want to be very clear that we have some properties on the north side that are prone to flooding that, as they're not making any more dirt, as speculators continue, interest rate drop, you're going to have folks who come in and say, oh, I can bring in fill. I can bring in fill and get it out of the floodplain. I can do this, I can do that, to the point of no more pad fill just to get themselves out of a floodplain, because that just exacerbates the issue downstream. It doesn't solve anything. In fact, it makes it
Yeah, it puts
harder.
it on their neighbors.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, because that hardly counts as open land, because it's just going to roll off.
Right, it's not compacted or,
Yeah.
or anything of that nature.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll address the flooding. What do we have next? Commissioners, council members?
I think that's it with our maps. Is that correct? Cool.
Brittany, do you have anything else that you would like to point out to us that maybe we've overlooked that you think is significant for us to at least have some kind of conversation about?
I think we touched on a lot of it. Just remember, for the downtown overlays, we're not intending to really change a lot of how that area looks. The intention was to keep it the form that it is now. And when we took the B3 code away, or when we do take the B3 code away, it takes some of those form-based standards that did work downtown and just adding it back in. So that's really what we focused on there. As far as uses, we do have a conditional use process and a prohibited uses. So if anybody has specific uses within those districts that you would like to be conditional use, so you don't want to prohibit them outright, versus those that you do just not want to see at all, I'd be open to suggestions for that. Right now, I do have for conditional uses within District 1832, tattoo shops, drive-through businesses, auto repair, gas stations, and then prohibited just smoke and vape shops, and then SOBs.
Yeah, there's a personality test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big change for the downtown is the gas stations as a conditional use. Right, they're normally allowed in what we, in old zoning, used to be called neighborhood commercial, because you want to go get gas down the street, you want to go do this, you want to go do that. You guys need to think about that, if you think that's appropriate by right, or do you think it has to go through a special conditional use?
I would do it. I like the conditional use. There might be situations where you deliberatively choose to say yes to something, which is what the conditional use means. But in general, gas stations are an environmental nightmare when it comes to the cleanup of the tanks that are underground. And I mean, even the ones that we have on Chestnut, and you talk about trying to reuse those buildings for something that's not a gas station.
Contamination.
And, all of the mitigation you have to do to pull those tanks out of the ground. Or alternatively, someone says, oh, I want to open another gas station there, and they have to go have those things inspected and
Right.
fixed, and that's an expensive mess, so.
Yeah, we'll find ourselves in this position right here, across the tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I mean, just making it conditional allows the elected body to choose to say yes to it if they wish, but otherwise, generally, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate this approach. I mean, it's like you're mitigating things, you know, you're understanding things, and you understand this, that it's going to be a moving target. It's not going to be something that's going to be set in stone with this. So we got to understand that too, because I think we had that misconception with the B3 code that it was going to be one size fits all, and boom, this is going to be it.
Right.
This thing is still going to move, so it's a
It
living
gives us
document
a solid set of standards to go off of.
right at the bat, and this is a good start.
All right. Brittany, you have anything else for us?
I have a question about some of the uses. Can we go to the packet also? Is anybody looking at the packet? I'm looking for it, sorry, I lost it.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for all the uses. It's like
So
in the
you-
page 195.
Yeah.
So page 194
Of your packet?
of the packet, of the zoning districts. We've got like farm and ranch and orchard as like, NP is not permitted at all?
Correct.
And that's, you don't want any type of commercial and even a mixed use property? That's on page 194, y'all. It's at the very, very bottom. Are we talking about this whole chart now for all the categories?
We can
Is this
talk
what-
about it, yeah.
We could talk about it. We weren't on that, but that's what we're,
Okay.
that's why I'm
Are we doing
asking, what do we
uses?
have?
Okay, cool.
So you can bring these things up and we can go by one. So if
Okay,
this is
cool.
what you want to talk about next, then
Thank you.
I could have Colin put it up on the screen as well.
Thank you.
If you
That
like,
seemed,
Colin,
we weren't
it's
trying
on-
to bypass anything. That's why I keep
Yeah, do you
asking
want to go
Thank
through?
you.
and
Okay.
asking and
You wanna go
asking.
through everything in order first?
I'll do whatever. I've got
Colin, it's on page 21 of the Word document I sent you.
So, Councilmember Fosler, I want to first, before we go down the rabbit hole
Yeah,
or
because there's
the
so
wormhole or whatever.
much.
So you have to remember that within the context of District 1832, there are things that are going to be allowed by right. This is in a single-family district that has a 5,000 or a 7,500 square foot lot outside of District 1832, where a farm, ranch, or orchard for commercial purposes is not allowed. So in a single-family lot of 5,000, 7,500, or 8,000 square feet,
It's also not permitted in mixed use or commercial. It's not permitted in any of them except for rural.
correct, because mostly the lot sizes.
So what about like, we have big farm lots that people farm on. I mean, there's one at the
You
school.
have big farm lots that people farm on where? I know I'm looking at you, but you're in District 1832.
So
So ixnay that conversation. We're not talking about, we're not talking
I don't think
about,
it's a situation of me, because
Yeah.
obviously there'd be some grandfathering in
Yeah.
type of thing with this. But
But
it also
encouraging that.
doesn't promote that sort of usage in the
Right.
future. And I mean, one of my personal goals, and one of the things I've always tried to do, was like, everyone should grow 20% of their own food. I mean,
but that's
getting
not
off my
commercial.
soapbox,
That's
like,
not
people
commercial
do need to learn.
purposes, though. That's
But
your
why
own
can we
personal
restrict
use.
it? Why should we restrict that?
Well, because you may not use pesticides that run off, et cetera, et cetera.
Fair.
Others may.
Fair.
And so we're in a situation where, other than rural, you're in a much denser context. You growing food for your own personal use, you can do that all day long. You growing food for commercial sale in a single-family district where the lot sizes are 6, 8, an acre, that brings in all kinds of other conversations, machinery, lighting, noise, pesticides, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so these charts right here refer to the primary use of the lot. What you're talking about would be an
Accessory.
accessory use to your primary use, which is residential, so that would be allowed.
It
I
would,
would just urge the city to consider the fact that people may want to grow their own food, and they may want to share that with their community. And that would be considered a commercial use.
that's why I would recommend changing it to a conditional use permit and
Yeah.
not just
Hey,
not
Colin, can you go
permitted,
to the
like
next
that seems
page?
crazy.
Right there.
So, but again, these are primary uses. On a single-family lot,
The very top
if I
of page
bought
23.
two lots, if I bought two lots, and my house is on one, and I bought the lot right next door, nothing's on it. You believe I should be able to have a commercial farming operation on that lot?
I believe that it should be able to have a conversation, and it's not an automatic no without ever even having the option of it.
On a
Well, I
single-family lot?
I think it should be a conditional use.
I'm gonna
not
super
seeing that.
disagree on that. That's
So
a
you're in
single-family use.
you're in the primary table. You're in the primary table on page
Is there an
194.
accessory table?
Yes, right above it.
Right, I know.
But that's more of bringing community together, sharing ideas on how to grow food. Well, say someone on Mesquite, say someone on Hawthorne wants to
That's
grow
District
food
1832.
and sell it to their neighbors.
That's District 1832.
And they would be allowed to do that.
That's District 1832.
Would they be allowed to do that? Yes or no?
As an accessory use, yes.
That would be
Would we be able to
considered
give
a
them a conditional
home
use permit?
occupation.
Okay, so you got several things going on right now. Is your primary question that on a vacant lot on Hawthorne, somebody should be able to, as their primary use,
On
a
a
farm?
single-family lot on Hawthorne or Mesquite or
That is how
Farm
large?
Street,
That is how large?
5,000 feet.
Okay,
Would they be able to grow something in 100 square feet and sell that to their neighbors?
is it an allowed use in District 1832, or is it an accessory use?
So is this a lot that already has a residential home on the property?
Yes, in this
Okay.
example, yes.
I believe that would be considered a home occupation, so there are specific allowances for that, especially if it is a no-impact home-based business, we cannot regulate. So if it doesn't drive traffic, noise, nuisance in general, we can't regulate those.
And that's what was just passed in the legislature,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Legislations,
Yeah.
right?
So,
Yes.
but a vacant lot is an entirely separate thing, because then you're not using it for its single-family intended use.
Okay. It's just in Leander, there was a situation with 75 Oaks, and they were attacked because they were growing food and selling it to their neighbors, and they literally had like one car there at a time. And the city goes, you have to stop business within 10 days. I would not like that to happen in our community.
And one thing we didn't touch on in the overlay, something that we talked about with the Main Street Advisory Board, is for single-family lots within the overlay, allowing limited commercial uses on the residential lots by conditional use, so we can evaluate that case by case.
If that can be included in a conditional use, yeah.
Yes.
That's why I would like to see this changed to.
Could
from
we
intent
just,
to C.
so no one wants to do, no one agrees that we should be able to buy a residential lot and do a commercial farm on it? You're talking accessory only, correct?
No, I would like it to be conditional use. If someone were to come in and buy a single-family lot and they're like, I'm going to not have grass that is a water needy, and they can grow drought-tolerant food for our community, I would like them to be allowed to do that.
Or at least to be able to have the conversation for it not to be
Yeah.
an automatic no and no conversation.
But then it's not a single-family use. You gotta go back to uses. You're in a single-family zone. If it's an accessory use, all day long. But it's a single-family zone.
You got some farmers and growers on this
Yeah.
board. I mean,
I just
Well,
think that
I've got a
that's-
farmer who's on
outlawed.
planning and zoning who
It's-
has a commercial
I'm
property.
speaking for
right.
myself, and I'm
But-
considering buying. a
But
lot
that's
and
your
making a food court.
accessory. That's your
No, it's
accessory.
a separate lot without a home on it. It's tucked behind something, but I'm considering that right now, and it's to grow food. It's not to build on. So, yeah. I
Grow
mean,
food
like-
for a commercial enterprise?
Well, no, but maybe one day. But like, I just don't want to ever restrict food, like.
Yeah, that's like
the growing of
really, that's
food.
like the obstacle for food sovereignty.
It's
And
like-
I'm completely against,
So-
I think everyone should be able to grow food.
Let me ask this question.
I completely agree as an accessory. Your rights stop right here, right? And so when your neighbors have issue with pesticides, light, noise, how early you're farming, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, Those are all things to be considered in the zoning also.
Councilmember,
That-
excuse me,
that-
Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you. That's exactly what my question and point was going to be. We're talking about zoning. This is, single-family use should be single-family. We're talking about conditional use, we're talking about zoning. This is what this is about. And if we're going to go in and start making exceptions, and then I have every right as a single-family unit to not have commercial grown next to me because that was not on when I got my house. So I have every right to not have it. And I don't want pesticides, and I don't want traffic, and I don't want everything that goes. So I absolutely have that right too, living in a single-family zoning.
Charlie, are we far off?
Charlie, you mind speaking into your mic so we can hear, please? Thank you.
No, not at all. This conversation is consistent with the law.
And so, just a good point. So there are, Sylvia Costa Chapalas owns 3 one-acre parcels on Main Street, and they are zoned single-family. Somebody comes and buys them and puts in a commercial food operation, whether that's commercial orchard, whether that's commercial pig farming, whether that's commercial, et cetera. There's some impact to the neighbors around who expected that to be single-family. That's an example of why uses are important. As an accessory use, all day long. You live on the very property that you farm. That's accessory, absolutely. You may have a commercial operation from what you farm, accessory. But as the primary use, that's a toughie. Because that's not what you thought you were moving into as a single-family residential.
It does say under agriculture and recreation and entertainment uses, which that is a primary use, correct? Is that under the primary category, page 23 or 195? That farmers markets, produce stands are conditional and single family. So you could set up your stand and your lot. I don't know about growing the food that goes in the stand, though. Does that cross into commercial territory? If we look at page 195, farmer's market produce stand is conditional for single family. So you can have a stand or a farmer's market. So I guess that just makes it a little unclear, because if you have a farmer's market, how many stands can I put up and how many people and all the stuff that we're trying to avoid with having agriculture? Maybe I'm kind of shooting the argument in the foot a little bit here, but I just noticed that.
That should just be consistent.
Roadside and seasonal,
Yeah. So roadside and seasonal, so you have your summer season, you have your fall season, your spring harvest. Come on, we got a lot of farmers here. I don't farm, but I'm in the know. So, for a conditional use permit, what is the process? Maybe we can clarify what the process is for conditional use. Because if I plan on doing a farm, or if I plan on tilling the lot and growing corn, right? Do I need to is that considered commercial agriculture if I didn't set up a roadside stand to sell the corn out of?
You can grow your own food.
Yes, but I plan on selling it would that be considered a commercial use? I planted corn, I bought a lot
Charlie.
downtown, I tilled it, and I planted corn. I filled it all the way up.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not comfortable answering these questions like sort of, off the cuff. I mean, everything is going to be dependent upon facts and dependent upon how this code is actually as ultimately approved and drafted. So, and we have not gone through it from the standpoint of making sure that we're in compliance with all the legislative laws. So I'm sort of saying that for future questions, right? But with respect to the question posed right now, I mean, it's going to depend on the facts. And the way that plays out, the way it plays out under the law is that when these types of questions comes up, the zoning administrator initially makes a call as to whether or not it's an appropriate use or an inappropriate use. Then, if the individual disagrees with the zoning administrator's decision-making process, with the outcome, they have a right to appeal that decision to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And the Zoning Board of Adjustment then ultimately makes a call on the zoning administrator's decision. That's how the process works. So, they always ask the lawyer, well, is it legal? Well, that's, under the code, that's usually not how the process works.
Yeah.
You're not going to the lawyer and asking. The zoning administrator's making a decision, sometimes in conjunction with the city attorney with respect to outcomes. But ultimately, it's the zoning administrator's decision, subject to appeal to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And that's how it works on all of these sort of hypothetical issues, if they actually end up on the ground. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
If you put it through a conditional use permit, it's going to go through the zoning P&Z, and then it'll go to council. And that conditional use permit is specific to that person. It's not running with the land. Whoever gets it next doesn't necessarily need to have.
That's not accurate if it's a zoning change. If it is a true conditional, if it's a true conditional use permit that goes through the zoning process, goes through the public hearing process, goes to the zoning commission, goes to the city council, if that happens, it runs with the land.
Oh, we have it running with the owner.
All right, so that's what I'm saying. We have not gone through this entire code provision
sorry.
yet to point these things out.
She corrected it, it's running with the land.
All right.
Okay.
And then with
Just
conditional.
one last thing, though. During the 2014 Urban Farm Ordinance in Austin, Texas, they actually made SF 1, 2, and 3 in Austin CUP. They've also done it in Detroit, Minneapolis, Madison, Wisconsin, and Ithaca, New York. So there is conditional use permits in single-family zones.
For commercial farms?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's similar with what we have within the 1832 boundaries, but we didn't, with this draft, expand it to the whole city.
Yeah, it's pretty common if cities would like to authorize commercial uses, with now, of course, the legislature is basically some guardrails on that, right? But it is very common if cities choose to allow a commercial use in a residential district, that it is by condition. Through the zoning.
If that's something that we do truly want, can we, instead of it being vague, as in just saying commercial farm, would you like to task maybe coming up with some specifics? So when someone buys that property, they know I'm allowed to do this, I'm allowed to do this, I'm allowed to do this, similar to how we have a dark sky ordinance, describing lumens and times and stuff like that. Maybe we have something similar for personal commercial farms or something, to where, hey, I apply for this conditional use, but I can't operate machinery before 9 a.m. I can't do X, Y, and Z. I can't use certain chemicals or whatever.
And that's the whole point of the conditional use permit, is that you can apply conditions to that approval,
Okay.
such as
Do we want
hours
to
of
have,
operation.
I mean, is that something you want to come up with, is some
I'd
set
be more than
standards?
happy to provide an outline.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Is everybody in general consensus with that?
I don't really understand what are we doing an outline for? I'm not for commercial uses in single-family districts. I'm not. So I don't know if I need to say more than that, or I'm for conditional use, I'm for the way it's written, but Dave, I understand Austin and places like that do that. I don't want to be Austin. So that's why we're doing the code, so.
Yeah, that's fair, but whenever you look at like Euclidean zoning and all that, it unfortunately promotes segregation. It unfortunately promotes you to have to commute because you have to drive around. And so people can't have a home business, say that home business is gardening.
That's not true. That's not true. This code has specific home occupations.
I'm not attacking this
It
code,
is specific.
but
Euclidean.
historically, Euclidean zoning has some issues.
So does form-based code, especially in Bastrop.
I agree, but what I'm saying is that people should just be able to do, this is private property rights, they should be able to do what they want within certain uses. They have to respect an outline, but we shouldn't restrict them from being able to do certain things.
So your recommendation is allow commercial farming as a conditional use in the single-family zone?
I'd be open to it, yeah.
Okay, is that your recommendation? Because we're going to go
Yes.
do some homework.
Yes.
So, Mayor, can you, before I go do some work, can you get a general consensus?
Sure. Councilmember and commissioners, how are we feeling about this?
No.
Do you want to make a motion to recommend to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So,
Make a recommend.
I make a
wait,
motion.
wait, hold on.
Are you gonna
Councilmember
just
Fossler
are you-
has.
It seems like we need to carve out farming from the others.
Yep.
Because they have different commercial
Correct.
uses. So I'm specifically talking about food production, food growth. I'm not talking
So
about ranging.
I would make a recommendation when looking at page 120, page 22 of 131, but page 124 total, or 194 total. If you look at utility, service, and other uses, farm, ranch, and orchard, I would like to carve out farm only under single family. Instead of saying not permitted, I would like that to be conditional use permit.
For primary use?
Correct.
Everyone
And I would
understand what he's
not
wanting?
like to include ranching or orchards, because those would be heavier uses on the property, require more resources, more infrastructure, and the potential for the pesticides that people would be worried about.
And if you wanted to be specific, there can be exclusions for livestock and only include vegetables, fruits, et cetera. I don't know what the technical term would be for that, but exclude livestock.
I'm just gonna say, because we don't have those people here, we're not getting an argument against that, but I guarantee you some animal out there someone can say they can ranch and have on their property. I promise you.
Okay.
The horse back here?
Okay.
Yeah,
That may-
I'm just saying.
I thought the animals
I'm
the
saying,
deal.
like, that's-
I got chickens, all right?
Right, like, okay, so you have chickens, right? So
But
that's,
do we want a chicken farm
no, but it's,
as a primary use?
but,
That's what I'm
okay,
saying.
so to that point, right? Right, so to that point,
Yeah.
right? He has a large piece of property that he can do a large farm on. Somebody can have a small 5-row of greens and carrots or whatever they're gonna grow. Same thing with the chickens, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to have a whole bunch of chickens to have an egg farm,
No.
right? And then you can have traffic. We know how eggs work. People want eggs like crazy, right? That can be the same thing in that
Pigs too,
aspect.
yeah, pigs and stuff like that, yeah.
Right. So there is that option, right?
I'm not against it.
I'm just,
saying.
you know,
I don't necessarily agree with primary use, though. Like, I think that if we're talking single-family lots that we've already designated by doing the future land use map, which we took a lot of time to do, and I say we because I came to all of those meetings, I think that if we've already made that decision, it can be used as an accessory after they use their primary, which is going to be residential, which is what those people in that area expect. I don't expect to go outside and see, because we're talking farm as in vegetables and fruits. That's not everybody's version of farm, and I think that's where we're going with this.
Right.
Is it's a slippery slope of what is your version of farm, and like I don't want pigs in my backyard. But there's plenty of land, so they could decide to put pigs in my backyard. And I think that's where I'm thinking is, it, as a primary, no. But as an accessory, yes, if you have the land and you want to do it, absolutely. But it needs to have a house on it that somebody lives in. I need to know my neighbors.
Chris?
Can I ask for a quick point of clarification? Is my mic on?
No.
No.
Okay, how about now?
Yes, sir.
All right, a quick point of clarification. We're not talking about people that are hobby beekeepers or hobby chicken keepers here at all, right? That's not implicated in this? Okay, that's the only.
Commercial designation, so
Yeah.
if you live on your piece of property and you've got, so let me just preface this by saying there are a multitude of other ordinances that would protect against you having smelly pigs or you having smelly chickens, and that's a code enforcement process to go through. When you talk about farm, your version of farm is very different. You may farm organically, and it may not be a problem. You live on the property, you care about what your neighbors think. Somebody else may buy a piece of property, as Ms. Fossler just indicated she wanted to do, not live on that piece of property and farm that piece of property. The neighbors smell, pesticides, noise, runoff, I mean, you name it, in a piece of property that was intentionally zoned single-family. We are talking about the primary use, correct? Not an accessory use, and you're sticking to that. Primary use of commercial food farming in a single-family zone.
It's more like a hobby, but would you get in trouble if you sold honey from it? You know what I mean? Like, at what point does it come commercial? Like, if you make pasta sauce from your tomatoes because you have, like, you know, it's that.
But you're
no, we
talking
don't-
using it as an accessory, but you're wanting us to change the primary use. That's where
I don't want to see banning of food production anywhere in our town.
I don't think anyone's saying banning, but also, I can say the interpretation of farming definitely differs throughout this room, right? When I hear farming, I don't think of someone in the downtown area of Bastrop having a piece of property. Like, you're the only exception, right, as far as what you would say is a farmer. Farmer to me is, so you have a gardener, right? Right, right, like, yeah, people have gardens in their yard where, you know, I'm a gardener and I grow vegetables, but like farming consists of.
Commissioner
to me,
Barrow has a really true commercial application. He
Right.
brings school buses, he
Right,
brings,
that's what
et
I'm
cetera,
saying,
et
like,
cetera.
he's like the exception to the rule, but like, not, I wouldn't say exception to the rule, but when I look at that, that's what I think of. You have a legit farm in the downtown area. Outside of that, I don't see too many more spaces where it is, although it could be. I haven't looked at everywhere. But a person having a garden, right, in their yard is different than a farm.
Well, I'll also add that the state gives agricultural exemptions at 5 acres and above.
It is
I mean,
5
there's-
acres and above. Ain't no
There's a
ifs, there's no
reason
getting
for
around
lot
that.
sizes. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know, but yeah,
that,
because I've been through it. You can't get around that 5-acre ag exemption.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
So, just, again, we have a motion. Did we clarify
So what
a
is
motion?
our motion? Can we get some clarity on that, please?
I would like to make a motion to include single-family as a conditional use permit for farming.
Do you have a definition of farming that you consider farming?
Row crops.
Crops, okay.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Council members.
Is there a second?
Oh, yes, sorry, y'all, yeah, we need a motion second from y'all, then we'll vote on it over here. So you have
Do
your
we have a
motion, we got a
second
second.
for-
It's on y'all for the second.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay,
Okay. Do we need to do a roll call?
yes.
Okay. Heather Green?
No.
Gary Moss?
No.
Crystal Toth?
Yes.
David Barrow?
Yes.
Would that be the tiebreaker? Why I gotta, can we do a Farming's important to Bastrop, yes.
Okay, so what we will do is we will bring back information, research as it relates to the definition of a farm, the definition of crops, and what the conditional use permit looks like.
Yes, and David, all I ask is that you lead the charge on this, and
I don't agree. He's got a vested interest.
Vested
It's his
interest?
farm.
Well, it's not for mine, it's for future.
just making recommendations, like guidance, like maybe like, hey, this
Yeah.
is what I've noticed, this is the complaints I get, this is what I use, stuff like that. And then, like I said, I think it would be best if we do something like this, it has, if it has some similarity to the night sky laws, to where it's like, hey, this is what it's gonna look like, these are the times you can operate, just so we're considerate of people that don't want heavy machinery ran at 6 a.m. at the crack of dawn, stuff like that. So we're compliant with sound, maybe some sort of setbacks or something to keep, you're not farming lot lines and messing with people's fences or something, stuff like that. I know, more homework.
And I think at some point, though, there's a potential for this to increase in size, and it's definitely going to change the dynamics of what we're dealing with. Right? If someone has a lot that's next to that single family, how much larger will that operation potentially be to
Yeah,
where?
well, also too, it's conditional, so if, with the conditional, we have to go through the planning and zoning process, notifications will be sent out. If we get a huge turnout of people saying no, then no, right?
And so, Charlie, for clarification also, in a conditional use permit, they break the conditions to that. Discuss the process to undo that.
Well, there's a variety of ways that it can work, but as a general process for conditional use permit, cities establish a set of conditions that they want to see. And I'm not a planner, I'm just a lawyer. A planner might be able to tell you a little bit better, that they would like to see. But then additional conditions can be placed so long as they're reasonable and not arbitrary and capricious through the process.
But what happens when they break the conditions?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood the
When
question.
they break
Then
the
it's a zoning
conditions.
violation, like any other zoning violation.
What does that look like? So.
Municipal court.
You set a noise limit 8 AM, and they're out there, running a tractor at 7:30. Municipal court, $500 fine, that's it?
Issue it, well, if it's a zoning violation, it's a $2,000 fine. Every violation is a separate violation. And so it's just like any other violation of a city code. You ask them, the hope is compliance, not punishment. So you give them a warning, ask them not to do it anymore. If they do it anymore, you give them a citation. And they have a right to go to court and get
Is
a
there
jury
ever a
trial
loss of the
city has to
conditional-
prove its case in a criminal trial, and if they're found guilty, then they can be, penalties imposed
Can the conditional use permit be taken away?
through the zoning process. It can be taken away the same way it was provided.
Okay.
However,
Hold on.
however, they will have a vested right in that conditional use permit.
Yep. So they're violating, they don't care, they farm at 6 AM, 5 AM, whatever time period. We go through and I'm telling you this from experience. We go through the zoning process, we go through all of that, they go, fine, you're making it too hard for me to operate. I'm gonna sell it to ABC distributors, and ABC distributors picks it up, and we start the process from scratch all over again.
Yeah, I will, and y'all have been talking about farming for a lot, so
You haven't even touched
why
anything.
don't you just let us, I heard a motion that says that we want to look at this, right? Is that accurate? So in 2023, the Texas legislature passed some legislation that protected agricultural and farming operations as that's defined in the code, which limits the city's ability to regulate certain things in a certain way with respect to those issues. We will look at them. We will provide guidance to staff in the code review process, and certainly bring back, the guardrails. The second time I've used that tonight. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. The guardrails, that can be considered in making these, code decisions.
That Right to Farm Act does stipulate timing, noise, et cetera. Like,
I
Are
don't
there
know that
certain things you
it
can do and
does.
not do?
I mean, it spells out a process by which a city has to go through to make determinations as to whether or not certain agricultural, ranching, or farming operations are detrimental to the surrounding property owners. That is correct. Oh, must be time to leave. Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, I thought it was too. All right.
All right, let's get through the
Yeah.
start from the top.
Huh?
Start from the top. Zoning districts. We didn't even go through the zoning
Well, I
districts.
mean, I know. Well, so, throughout asking, we just been kind of playing basketball and bouncing around and going to everything, trying to get some establishment here. So, is that where you want to go now, to the top?
To the top.
The top of what,
Start with the zoning districts. I think there's some important things to address just at the base level, just the districts to begin with.
Can you toggle back to the slideshow, Colin? Thank you.
Because we do have a few changes from B3 to this code, and the biggest one is introduction of 3 separate single-family densities or zoning types, which I don't believe we had in B3. We only had 1.
Yeah, so everything that is currently P3 neighborhood is going to be initially zoned to SF1 with the 1/3 acre lot size, so that is not changing. We just wanted to offer 2 higher density options that it would have to be a property owner initiated rezoning process that we would have to analyze like any other rezoning and see if it is supported by the future land use map, and same process as any other rezoning.
Okay, did we have any questions about any of the single-family uses? 1, 2, or 3? Council?
Council members, do we have any questions? All right, we
Okay.
can move to the next
So next,
subject, please.
I did have some questions, or I wanted to address on the mixed-use portion. So for mixed use, the development standard is also 1/3 acre lot size. And it did mention that typical uses would be townhomes, duplexes. I saw patio homes, which are traditionally on lots that are smaller than 1/3. Specifically, we have some examples in the colony where they have townhomes, cottage homes, et cetera, that are even under 5,000 square foot lots. So do we want to keep that mixed use at 1/3? Do we want it, if these developers are coming they're 9 times out of 10 coming with smaller lots?
So that is a good point. So if you are, so mixed use allows for limited commercial, where the 1/3 acre might make the most sense. But if you are going to be utilizing the lot for townhomes or duplexes, we might need to lower that minimum lot size.
Okay, I'm just
For
trying
the
to see if we
residential
could do something to maybe avoid a PDD, or are they just going to apply for a PDD and ask for that reduction in it? What, Sylvia, do you think 1/3, we should stick with 1/3?
I think you should stick with 1/3 to start with. If there are special designations as it relates to you're in a flood area, you're in a blank, 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 blank. I know folks don't like PDDs, but generally it is the best way that the community gets to ask for what it wants when you want a developer wants to be super, super creative.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just adding more complications, just go through the PDD. That's where the complications come in.
Is the PDD?
At the PDD, that's where you want to put that.
Okay. And then for general commercial, 1/4 acre, no issues there? Okay.
Can I just get a clarification? Are we going to, like, just for time tonight, or how are we going to, what is the process that we're going to go through? We're going to pick everything, like the whole directory index tonight and chew this all up? Because what I did, and I'm hoping everybody did, was go through all of this and make notes of what I thought needed notice.
Yes,
I did not go through every single thing because I didn't think there was a need.
Oh, yeah,
Are we going to
absolutely.
go through everything in the index? Because we're going to be here.
Yeah, I don't think we should read the whole thing in its entirety. I think we just go through and just touch the points that, hey, Article 14.3, special districts, we already went through that. That's the first thing we did. Okay, development standards. They wanted to talk about, if we want to talk about parking, sidewalks, lighting. Do you have any concerns, questions?
So that's why I've been asking, right? Is
Yeah, let's just roll through it.
to not to go through, right? Not to go to start at the top, but like if there's anyone here to Councilmember Myers' statement, hopefully everyone went through and looked at these things to have something to provide. The goal is not to keep us here all night going through everything, although we want to make sure we're informed on what we're doing. But if there's stuff that we're good with that staff has made the changes on, well, we don't necessarily have to go into detail. Maybe if you want to highlight it, but
No,
it's the thing is, if there's stuff that we need to address to get to staff so that they can review it, so come the next meeting on the 16th of December, we'll be able to make some rock solid decisions on moving forward with what we're going to do.
Absolutely.
Right. So again,
Yeah, and
please, like
I'm merely
if
just
if anyone has anything like notes wise, and that's why I'm also going to Brittany, because I know she might have some highlights of some changes that we need to be aware of that maybe we didn't go through or didn't see. But for the most part, yes, if we, to Councilmember Meyer's statement, if we have anything, let's bring that, and if not, let's go one by one. You want to go one by one? Let's start around. Oh, one by one person to see if they have anything. There we
Start
go.
with me on my first.
Suggest, well,
She has
because,
nothing.
hey, we're going to go left to right.
I'm gonna take after Kevin.
All right. Christopher? Chris?
My main concern is the clustered land development. So that's on page 19 of 131, Article 1402 zoning districts. I just need more explanation of it, really. I was
Essentially-
confused earlier.
Yeah, so this cluster land development that you're talking about is under our PDD section. It's just a subtype of a PDD. It would come through the same way any other PDD does. It just kind of outlines, rather than making up your own rules for the PDD, like typical, it outlines what a cluster land development should look like.
I'll give you an example. So the apartments at Reed Ranch, or Reed Ranch development area. Let's say it wasn't apartments, let's say it was single family, or it was townhomes, and the neighbors had concern with separation distances and drainage, et cetera. They could theoretically come under a cluster development, put it real close together in the middle, surround it with green open space, still have the same number of units per acre, still protect the surrounding neighborhood and still have green open space, and they can do that by right.
Thank you.
It's just clustered in a smaller area, but with the same intensive density.
Thank you.
You got anything else? Okay.
Farming.
No.
Commissioner Scott?
Well, if we're jumping around, I think a big one that stuck out to me was the ADU requirements. If we want to all turn to page 224. My issue was that I was okay with the 1 acre, 2 ADUs, rural, third of an acre residential, 1 ADU, but we're asking for a conditional use permit for ADUs under a third of an acre, which I think is unnecessary and limiting ADUs in the city. Because I think we did the study, and was it on half of the lots or less than a third of an acre?
So is your issue that for single-family lots, it's an ADU by right, assuming they could park it, drain it, utility?
Absolutely, 100%. There shouldn't be there shouldn't be a conditional use permit for ADUs if they can park it and they can drain it, and et cetera, in my opinion.
And would you consider that for 2 ADUs per lot, 1?
One.
1 by right for residential.
And then we currently have for rural, if they do meet the minimum lot size of 1 acre, we would allow 2 by right. That's how.
Because
we
those are 1
proposing
acre
now.
lots.
I'm okay with that.
Yep, and what about a conditional use permit may authorize up to 2 ADUs? Assuming they could park it, drain it, blank, blank, blank it.
How do we feel? If they can park and drain, which is tough on a smaller lot, even though, especially under a third.
Well, so we
So
consider.
they're going to get limited by.
A smaller lot, when you go with 2, you're going to be.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, our city's density is protected by the lot coverage minimum. So the chance of them putting 2 ADUs and a single-family home on a lot under a third of an acre is very slim.
We talked about those ADUs that are over a garage. They built it over the garage, so it has no impact to footprint, impervious cover, or anything, because they built it over the garage. And so that leaves you with the ADU over the garage, and for those properties who can, that second ADU at the back of the house. That's why we left it as a conditional use permit, assuming you can park it, drain it, and utility it.
Yeah, you can better believe that people will, if they can, they'll figure out a way to squeeze it in there.
So, one by right, even if it's under a third, and then 2 conditional use.
My feeling about it, and I know this goes into the face of whatever, is 1 by right. Any more than that, you begin to transition a single-family neighborhood into a multifamily neighborhood.
So we just keep 1 by right, that's it.
Sounds good.
I'm okay with that. I didn't
And
want to.
remove
I
the
don't want to get.
conditional use for 2.
Does
Okay.
that work for everyone? Okay, we got thumbs up on that one.
How does this relate to the same uses in the chart on page 22? Can we make sure our words here meet the
This is
chart?
accessory.
Right, but there's accessory dwelling units on page 22, and I wonder if we're changing anything that's changing this chart as well?
What is the total page number in the packet?
What's the total page number?
Right
What's
here.
In the
And
packet?
this
In the
specifies how
package,
they're,
194 in the packet.
yeah.
Same, it's here, doesn't it translate? Don't those words on page 52 translate
Goes right
here
after
on page
that.
22?
Yeah, it does.
Yes, I do need- I
It
do
does say
need-
for accessories that ADUs are conditional.
Yes, I do need to change
Yeah, it seems make sure it's there.
Absolutely.
in single family to permitted and define if it's 1 or 2. So I can make that change. What about for mixed use districts? Do we want to allow them in the mixed use district or only in single family district?
I don't see why they couldn't be allowed in a mixed use.
Yeah, mixed use is more
Yeah.
dense anyway. I
Yeah,
don't see an
it's
issue
already
with that.
feeling that way anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
So those two
So should that be a 2 by right situation in the mixed use? Or should it be 1 by right with 2 being conditional use?
I think in the mixed use, you can have 2, 2 by right, assuming you can drain it, park it, blank, it.
that's gonna be the issue, yeah.
Because you're already, you
I
already
would-
expected more than a
Right,
single
so
family.
do you just not put a number to it, just, I don't know, maybe just permitted, I don't know how
Yeah.
that would work, but, because I guess you could have a mixed-use lot that was, 2 or 3 acres that, yeah, go nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, standard. Okay.
Another new thing to the accessory dwelling units is the regulation of the size of the unit as well as the height, which we don't currently have.
Okay, so addressing height, it says that it should never be taller than a principal dwelling, and given that a popular ADU style is a garage with a one-bedroom apartment on the top, I don't think that should be in the code, just in case you have a single-family home that wants to do that style of ADU.
Yeah, I completely, I don't have an issue with height. We limited them to 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, because outside of over 1,000, you're saying you're basically building another
Yeah,
single-family residence.
But to the height thing, yeah, we contemplated back and forth those ADUs over the garage. Like Kirkland's house, for example,
Yeah.
single-story detached garage, if he were to put an ADU over the garage, it's now taller than his
Yeah.
primary house.
I mean, I'm okay
Yeah.
with the 24-foot maximum, so you're basically limiting it to 2 stories, but I don't think it should matter if the principal dwelling is 2 or 1 stories, in my opinion.
Okay, and on the 1,000 square foot max, that's just for a dwelling unit, that wouldn't include like a workshop or a?
That's just the dwelling unit.
Okay, thanks.
So we're going to ixnay same height as the principal dwelling.
Never taller than principal dwelling, yes. I think so. Yea or nay?
Commissioners, council members?
It should not be taller than the primary residence.
So, so that example of John Kirkland's house, single-story detached garage, if he wants to put an ADU over the garage, it's now taller than the primary.
So you're saying don't put the ADU on the garage and put it in the yard?
Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, I misunderstood. I
The other way.
apologize.
We
That
could,
it's okay to put it over the garage?
Right.
Okay.
another thing we could do if we want to allow that, but not two-story ADUs, like top and bottom dwelling units, we could say one living story, but you could have the garage underneath and the apartment above. So if you didn't want that 2 stories for living space.
I don't think it matters. What's the difference? If they add an extra bedroom, they're gonna have to park it. If they want if they want that extra living space, or if they want a one-car garage and the
Yeah,
bottom
it
half
doesn't
is
bother.
like a little office or something, like
Yeah.
it.
And honestly,
matter.
I don't think it matters because we have such a mix in the downtown of single-story, 2-story, and so it's not like it's gonna stick
Yeah.
out like a sore thumb because there's already a mix.
There's 2-story ADUs already downtown. There's spotty, so,
2-story max, okay.
yeah. Sweet, get that.
As long as you can park it, drain it, and utility it.
Yep. Okay, pass.
All right, Jordan, you done with yours?
I
Commissioner
mean, I
Scott?
have more, but I'll pass.
You sure? We don't want to leave it untouched.
No, we can keep.
You
let
good?
other people weigh in.
Well, we're not gonna come back to you, that's what I'm
He
saying.
visited with us earlier.
Jordan, man.
Yeah, so, no, I can tell. That's usually what happens when you make those visits. You full of all kind of things.
I mean,
It's the good thing about it. All right, Councilmember Fosler.
I got to talk about food, so come back to me if there's more time. I got other things, but
There won't be any time. We're not coming back to you. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's
But we
like-
would like ideally though, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure
not
that
super
as we go
essential.
through, things might
Yeah.
pop up, but if we can,
well, I want to highlight the new minimum landscaping requirements. I think that's pretty cool. That's new. Can you talk a little bit about that? It's like 20% for residential.
It's
so-
very cool.
Yeah.
Let's go back to, and I really love what the staff did and what worked at the B3 and what didn't work in the B3. I think we all can understand when you look at the apartments off of Blakey, what that landscaping in the B3 requires. And we talked about it ad nauseum at Planning Commission about how by HEB you have like one tree every 30 feet or whatever. And the new landscaping ordinance gives credit. It allows for low hedges and shrubs and fill in, and we really are trying to address the heat effect. And so if you go to that picture, Brittany, that is, and it's on the private side. You're not putting a tree that's required by the developer as part of the development requirement and then pushing it on the city to maintain. And you made them put it in the sidewalk, or you made them put it in the street, that now rips up the street, that now the street tax is affected. And you know what I mean? It's a horrible cycle that has pushed it off to the public. By leaving it in the front buffer, you still get the added benefit of the shade over the sidewalk, you get the added benefit of beautification, except it's not ours to maintain.
And there are even landscaping requirements for individual homes now, too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's also new and different.
New homes, yes.
Mayor, I have a motion to fix the time to adjourn to 8:45.
Second.
all right. All in favor from council?
Aye.
All opposed from council?
Nay.
All right, it's, Kevin, did you, Councilmember Plunkett, you was aye? You was aye? Oh, okay, so it passes 4-1. All right, Councilmember Meyer, Fosler, sorry. Do you have any more things
I'll
that you want to? Okay, Councilmember Lowe? Councilmember Plunkett? Councilmember Meyer?
Yes, quickly I do, thank you. Just on the storefront transparency, it was 25%, we've moved to 50%, which is much better. However, there are different kinds of transparencies. We've got solid, transparent, we've got solid, which is not transparent, or we have letters like we do on Main Street. And Doc, we looked at this back and looked at different buildings, like the sign, the copiers and the bookstore. Those are 100%, but you can see through them because they're letters, so it's really transparent. So those are two different animals we're talking about. So to say 50%, I don't see a problem with being 100%, as which we discussed earlier. I believe, Michaela, we did that too in one of our meetings, to be 100% as long as it was an example like the bookstore where it was just letters up there and you would still have transparency to see through the business.
So we should really call out opaque as transparent.
Yes, I am sorry. That was me over here. I will correct that. Yes, we are doing the 100%.
I remember we talked.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, quickly.
Yes.
My next thing is on the blade signs. We restrict the size of the blade signs, whatever square footage is, but to continue to restrict the size of the letters seems very, very over regulation. Because if you have a blade sign that's a certain size, you're just crazy if you're going to put too many letters in there because nobody's going to be able to read it anyway. So let people put whatever size letters they want on there as long as the sign's the same size. I think that's over regulation if we dictate the letter size. And that's it.
Yes, we are not dictating the letter size. All of that has been corrected.
Perfect. Thank you. You solved the problem.
Yeah.
And that was at a Main Street, what meeting was that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Is that it, Councilmember Meyer?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
So the sign ordinance is something that I've looked at before, and we're kind of waiting to the end of the B3 code edits to kind of dive in and really make some major changes to it. I guess one question I have is, has the Main Street Board had some input into that? Yeah, she's nodding her head. Yeah. Yes. Okay, good. There was a time when the B3 code was passed where we weren't enforcing it, and then we went out with code enforcement and noted each of the signs that were in violation, and then sent out letters to a bunch of people saying that we're going to start enforcing this on a given date, and then the enforcement started, and then it just got real ugly real fast, and that was, my first, month on council. And so we sort of directed the city to stop enforcing said sign ordinance, and then it's just been sitting there unenforced. And so I don't like to have rules that we don't enforce, and I don't like to have rules that were the rules that we had. So I want to rewrite the rules and then enforce them. But they need to be good rules, right? So, I want Main Street's opinion. I want her opinion as a representative of Main Street. But also, there was some of the churches that are, the one that's on Main Street, they had a Celebrate Recovery sign where they were inviting people to come in and get help with different kinds of substance abuse problems. And they were forced to take that sign down by our code enforcement actions. And then they saw a 1/3 drop in the use of that service at that facility, which is frickin' tragic, right? So it's like that's the kind of thing that I want us to lean more into the flexibility side of.
Yes, so Main Street, well, it started with the design committee, which all looks at the physical attributes of downtown, which is made up of committee members, but also board members on that as well. Cynthia sits on that, and then we also brought in a local business owner, Sign and Banner, Joseph, who handles signs all the time and deals with these processes. So we brought all of those key players in, and then also talked to several key business owners downtown, and was learning how much of a pain our current codes are, and some of those stipulations that kind of just don't make sense. And as a Main Street manager, signage is so important for a business, and the quickness of being able to get your sign turned around and put up there is so important as well. So we took into consideration all of those things, and all of the things that we brought forward to the development services team, took all of that in consideration and really tried to ease a lot of the limitations and make them just way more small business friendly.
Great. That's it for me.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland. All right. We don't have anything else from anyone?
Just on primary residential uses, duplexes aren't allowed in rural properties? It says not permitted. I was just curious, is that something that y'all decided on?
No, so rural properties are intended to be more for single-family
Mhm.
dwellings on large lots.
Okay, so if my property was zoned rural, I can't put, I don't know why we are regulating duplexes. It's just two living units.
Especially on a property that large.
I don't see why it'd be an issue. So it's because can we change that not permitted to permitted?
I
And
can change
then, maybe this is just a personal vendetta, but, commercial industrial use, data center, R&D lab. It's conditional for mixed use and, commercial, and then permitted for industrial. I think it should not be permitted in mixed use, in general, commercial, and I think it should be conditional for industrial because data centers are a big point of contention in a lot of areas because of their energy use, and I want the city to have input on that, and I want it to be as hard as possible for them to put that in city limits.
Okay, so you said conditional and
Um,
only industrial.
Not permitted for mixed use, because we don't want a data center downtown.
Right.
Not permitted for commercial, and then we could do conditional for industrial, because there's such little industrial space, and it would make sense there, but that would be a community input type deal, in my opinion.
I can make those changes.
I have the same feelings for wireless communications, but we already went down that rabbit hole and whatever.
Yeah, it's
So,
gonna
so
be-
on the data centers, as a primary use, I don't disagree with his input, but every medium-sized company, I don't mean like Main Street stuff, I mean something that's got hundreds of employees to thousands of employees, has on-site data centers. They can't come to our town if they're not allowed to have them. So I'm not suggesting as a primary use where the whole thing is a data center, but a room this big, where
Oh.
they've got servers, they've got a race floor, they've got hyper air conditioning through it to keep everything cool. That's a normal business operation thing that we have to allow.
Of course, and this is for primary use.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be an issue if they have a building that has a data center or a small one.
Yeah.
That would be an incidental use of the primary structure.
No, I'm hoping so. I just wanted to clarify that because that's going to be required for any business, corporation type kind of thing.
Can-
Yeah, yeah.
Can I rewind really quick? And I put the stopwatch on, so I'm gonna go real fast. When Jordan, you talked about rule with duplexes, refresh my memory, Doc, please. Gateway, is that rule now? Is that future land use rule? So you would want duplexes behind Buc-ee's?
If they decided to make the lots an acre and their trade-off is allowing duplexes, then sure.
So traffic and parking and drainage, that doesn't affect?
Well, their lot size minimum is an acre, so if they decided to turn that whole hillside into duplexes on acre lots, that'd be a lot better than 400
Single
living
family?
units.
Than
Right.
single family? Because it's going to be an acre, right?
Mhm.
Which would be single family. So I'm not agreeing with that
So
in
if,
principle.
if there are existing lots zoned rural that are less than 1 acre, you would be permitted to build duplexes if you made that change.
Mm.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But there aren't any out there, at least, that I could think
Let's
of.
make sure there aren't.
There are a couple, I think.
I'm talking
Not a
about,
lot, but-
yeah, but I'm saying let's don't allow it, because we're looking in the future, and we're all not going to be here one day, and we got to leave this the best we can. Well, you are, Gary, but I won't.
I just didn't see, yeah, because I'm looking at all of these, the lots that they have, and they're all over an acre, I believe. Yeah, they're 2 acres, 2
Well,
acre blocks.
Just in principle is what I'm saying. That's one thing that I'm just going to disagree on. Just want to make that point.
Okay.
All right.
Does anyone else disagree? I think that's all I have. I know I like to yap. I apologize.
I got one thing. I got a motion.
Hold up.
To adjourn.
Hold up. You don't get to go
Over
yet.
here. Over
You don't get to go yet.
Over here we
And
do.
y'all have only been here since
You can talk as
6:30.
long as
We've
you
been
want
here
over
since
there.
5.
We can adjourn over
All
here.
right, we've been here since 5, okay? So y'all don't get to go yet. All right.
Cynthia and I have been here since 6:45.
Oh, yeah.
Sit down.
All right, so thank you, everyone, for your input, your insight,
So this is a
your reviewing of the documents, and providing some good information for staff to come back to us with on the 16th.
Please send any additional comments our way.
Yes. If you have anything else that you think of, please send it to them sooner than later. Please think it through and not just be wanting to throw some stuff out there to make life hard for them. All right, they got a lot they have to do as it is, and just know that they'll be diligently working on what we requested. So, if that is it from everyone,
Motion to adjourn.
we have a motion, we have a second from council.
Second.
All right, we have a second. So council is.
Motion to adjourn planning and zoning. All in favor? All opposed?
I didn't get to go through my all in favor over here. You act like you want to stick around. Now you're rushing through what I got to do over here. So you're going to have to wait on your motion for a second. Okay, council, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, now you, Mr. Commissioner Scott.
All right, we'll start from the top. Motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
All right, thank you. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you, staff.